All right, so welcome back. We're doing an update to a previous video. Back in October, we did a disassembly and adjustment on the Kansept Main Street. Unfortunately, at that time, we found that the Omega springs appeared to be proprietary in terms of their shape, so you can reference that previous video. And so therefore, there was no opportunity to change them and add springs that had stronger tension, because the ultimate issue we had was the detent. So if you see here, I'm going to show you, just the slightest shake and out it comes. Okay, so one of the commenters on the channel indicated maybe changing out the ball bearings for washers could have some positive benefit on that in terms of slowing the blade down a bit. So fortunately, Skiff Bearings does sell thick washers. And when I went back and reviewed the video from October, I noticed that we had done the measurements using the Skiff Bearings tool here that looks at the washers and the pivot size, and we had found it was a 6mm, 1/16. So I happened to have, I had purchased a whole slew of different bearings as well as different washer size. So I happen to have a set. Not looking forward to taking this knife apart again. This knife is basically sat in my to be traded or to be sold pile ever since that video, because honestly, I just don't feel very comfortable with a knife that just slings around that easy. Anyway, so since I had the washers, I felt like, hey, let's give this a try. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this down to the mat, go into high speed so you don't have to sit through it all. We're going to take the scales off. We're going to take the Omega springs off, get it all broken down. Swap. All right, here we are. We got it completely broken down. Not too terribly hard to take it apart. I'm sure it'll be a lot more fun trying to put it back together. Here is, again, I'm not sure if you review that previous film, but you can see that previous video that's back in October, but you can see the shape of that Omega spring. That is very, very unusual, especially that part right there. So anyway, let's take a look at these. Let's move that blade out of the way so nobody gets themselves sliced. Let's see what these washers look like. Well, they're not quite as wide. Let's check our, again, yep, 1/16. And check our pivot. Definitely 6mm. So you can see there, we can put it through. 6mm. And we can slide that right through there. Too big, too tight, perfect fit, slides right through. You can see these are plastic housed. I'm pretty sure those are ceramic bearings. All right, so if we look here, that slides through, and our pivot tool does fit them. Now the question's going to be is how are they going to work on here? Oh, those feel like they'll work just fine. Yeah, I don't see why not. It's the right thickness. Yes, they are not as wide. So as we go about putting this back together, we have to make sure that as we do it, we build it like a sandwich. All right, so we got her back together in terms of the frame. Definitely has that nice hydraulic feel that you get off of the phosphor bronze washers. We'll have to see how it tightens up to see how it how it affects things in terms of the, I mean, it's still pretty, but I haven't even tightened the pivot down at all. And this is the whole standard of why working on knives that have bar locks are such a hassle. And wow, well, definitely not going to fall shut there. So we obviously need to loosen it up a little bit. Let's get our pocket clip back on so that we can handle. Look how it's not even pulling the knife all the way back in. See that? Boy, that is odd. There's no blade play. See how it's not sucking the knife back in at all. Now, isn't that interesting? Now it sucks it in. See that? I mean, it can still come out, but it's not as... So what is going on when we put the... Why is... So as soon as I do that, it's not sucking it in anymore. Look at that. Okay, it is there. Boy, maybe that pivot just has to be really... I mean, that's... Like, it's not even tightened, like, all the way. So that's all the way. Okay, it's still dropped. So basically, it can't tighten down at all. Maybe that will improve as the washers smooth out. That's what I'm starting to think. So maybe it just has to be just right. Okay. Okay. Now you can see it's popping out, but it is not flying out. And it's a little bit slower. It seems to be holding in well. So you can see here with the shake, I mean, I'm sure I could do it if I do it hard enough, but before that blade would have just flown out. So let's see. That's a huge improvement. And matter of fact, with the weight of this blade, the way it drops so fast, it's almost like guillotine fast. I actually feel like it's likely a little bit safer running a little slower. And it definitely has that feel that you get from the bug outs where, you know, you get that hydraulic feel as it just kind of smoothly. All right, so we have someone to thank for that, and that would be this gentleman or lady or whatever, Sir Wee HAL 1005. So if they have a channel, I have no idea if they have a channel on content, but if they do, you should definitely check them out. This was their idea about a month ago. They posted whether they thought the blade play and maybe the detent could be addressed by switching out the bearings for washers. I would say in response, sir, HAL 1005, it's not perfect in that I have to keep the pivot loose enough that I'm still getting a tiny bit of blade play. And that if you're not careful here with the tension on the pivot, it's affecting the detent, that last bit of pull. I was just going to try putting a little drop of heavy lube along the track here. So it'll be interesting to see as those washers smooth out over time, just like when you get a bug out, often its action is not that great. I don't really have any blade play at this point, and we're pretty much with a little bit of a tilt. That's pretty nice. And look, guys, how it slows things down. So I think it's just going to be something where you tweak it back and forth till you feel like you're happy with it. And then you try to, there, we're stuck right in that in-between part. You tweak it till you're happy with it, and then you try and break it in. You decide whether it'll work for you. All right. So thanks for joining me, guys. Maybe I'll give an update on this in a month or so. I'll try carrying it a few times. And maybe this one will come out of the to be given away or to be sold and move into the actual active carry collection. That'd be kind of cool. Thanks for joining us today, and hit that subscribe button. See you soon.